You know it. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
yeah.
that's wild. Well, man, I love your story. I love your background. I'm looking forward to getting into it. So thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Yeah, yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
You bet. So let's begin our journey by 4 years ago. We were trying to figure out this pandemic, how long it was going to last, when we're going to get out of it. How did you ultimately get out of it, and how did it change the way that you do things now?
Wow. Okay. Well, 4 years ago, I was still in New York. At the time, I was working for one of the biggest hospitals in New York, and the pandemic was the worst thing that could ever happen. And as you know, we got hit the hardest. So
Yeah.
in that whole year, I lost 39 people in 1 year. So friends, family, relatives, you name it. People passing around me. So I was a mental health worker slash security, and I had to deal with folks with mental issues, psych, bipolar, homicidal, suicidal, narcissistic tendencies, you name it. So some of those folks did not want a social distance. Some of those folks did not want a mask or, so it was real, like I said, real in the field. So it was an experience that I'll never forget. So after going through all of that and being in psych 3, 4 days a week, my wife was like, well, it's time for us to move and go somewhere else. Cause after a while I got to enjoy a lot of the chaos, and that's not a good thing. My wife is kind of on the low key side, and she had to bring me back to reality. She said, "No, no, no, this is too much. New York is a whole nother level now." And my mentor always says, "New level, new devil."
Yeah.
So we came to Florida and never looked back. So I've been here 2 years, and it's been a phenomenal ride.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine just the weather and the scenery and just everything at a minimum, the mental health would just have to improve immediately.
Yeah, COVID reared its ugly head, and that's why a lot of young folks are dealing with that because them not being able to conjugate and be around other people, it was pretty cumbersome. And I find more and more of the young folks that I talk to, they really, really need to talk and get it out. And some of them, a lot of them have suffered in silence. And
Yeah.
even some of our seniors have suffered in silence. And it's a shame. So it's my mission to give back and help those that, are suffering in silence to be able to have a voice and be able to open up and talk about things that are dear to them.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do here in 2024. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day, and one of the kids is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I answer that by telling them that I help folks with my story, which is uplifting, inspirational, because I went from being homeless to being living where I'm at right now, and I did pretty well in New York, and now I'm doing even better in Miami, Florida. So my way of giving back and helping the kids to be able to relate to their parents, because some kids have a tough time being able to relate to their parents. So, and I give you one case in scenario. I was working for a nonprofit charity. I was one of the top salesmen there, and I was the trainer, the head trainer that trained the trainers. So I'm in Pensacola, and a lady comes up, and at the time we were doing disabled American veterans. No, we were doing Doctors Without Borders, and which is a big, huge nonprofit organization. So the lady comes up and she said, "Oh, I would love to donate." And I said, "Well, okay." I said, "What's going on?" And she opened up and she started crying. And I was like, what happened?" And she told me about her daughter. And she says she's haven't been able to connect with her. I said, "Okay, well, give me a little bit about, what's going on." And after a couple of minutes of talking to her, I gave her some tools, some tricks, not only tricks, but I gave her some solutions to be able to connect with her daughter, because her daughter's adopted, so she was in foster care. So I said, well, before that, I said, first of all, let me back up. I said, who does she relate to more, you or the husband? And she said, him. I said, okay, okay. So she likes kind of the father figure that he presents and that she lacks. So she said, yeah. I said, well, in that case, did you ever try to connect with her before you kind of pulled? And she said, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, a lot of times young folks will look at it as though you're forcing them. So that resistance you'll encounter. So I gave her an idea how to go about doing that. And also I said, let her open up and talk more about her. And I said, what do you really know about her? And she's like, you're right. I never really went deep dived into her story. And that's the problem nowadays. We've gotten disassociated with this whole social media thing.
Yeah.
And social media, don't get me wrong, it's a great thing, but we need to get back to basics. We need to care about one another. We need to take time to find out, is everything okay? If
Yeah.
not, I'm here for you, and I've done that over the years, over the past 2 decades at the hospital. And I've got countless stories of that.
Yeah.
So
So what did you want to be when you were in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
well, I love comics.
Okay.
So it was like superhero kind of, I was a big Batman, Superman. I've been drawing since I was three years
Okay.
old. And yeah, superhero. And then later on, I don't know what made me think of this. Because I love the honeymooners. So I was like, oh, I'll be a bus driver. I was like, and after a while, I was like, no, 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 you don't want to be a bus driver. So,
Yeah.
you
So
know.
what were these seeds that were planted? You got this art and then you got that helping people. How did all of these get harvested to grow into this career and who you are today?
Well, that came about because at the age of 15, my mom put me out. I was homeless for 3.5 years, and I had to raise myself. So it was tough love. My mom was a single mom, 4 boys, and at the time I was dealing with asthmatic issues. So I would be going back and forth to the hospital for weeks. I mean, sometimes 3, 4 days a week, every week. So everybody in the whole staff, they knew me the minute I came in, and they knew the reason why I was there, because I was having an asthmatic issue. So they turned me on to an inhaler, and this inhaler was steroid based. Now, growing up in the ghetto in the hood, we didn't know what steroids was. We didn't know the adverse effect of steroids. So I was acting out and I was angry all the time, but I couldn't understand why I was angry. And like a lot of kids, they're angry and their parents don't understand. So that's why I'm able to relate to them. I'm able to relate with seniors. And anyway, to make a long story short, my mom said one day, she said, you keep this crap up, I'm gonna put you out. And sure enough, I come home from school one day, knock on the door, and she didn't open the door. So I'm like, wow. And I was out there for hours. So my neighbor um peeped out the peephole, and then she came out and she said, you okay, baby? I said, well, I said, nobody's open up the door. She said, well, maybe she went to to go shopping and stuff. I said, no, I hear somebody inside, but she's not opening the door. So she went knocking on the door too. My mom never opened up.
Wow.
And yeah, that was, so living on the streets, living in shelters, abandoned buildings, worst case scenarios, doing a lot to survive and eat and everything. One of the reasons why I wanted to be on your show is because I played alto sax
Okay.
a long time ago. But the thing is, in order to survive on the street, I had to sell my saxophone.
Wow.
It hurt my heart being able to do that because it was given to me by someone, and those things you'll never get back. But and my wife, she loves violin,
Yeah.
you know. So my wife originally from overseas, so and yeah, yeah.
So what was the jazz that you were into?
Oh, I love contemporary jazz,
Yeah.
and I love old school jazz, Miles Davis, Coltrane, BB King. We got a chance to go to BB King's on 42nd Street. I think they're closed now, and
Okay.
God rest his soul. He passed away a few years back. but I
Yeah.
got a chance to see him, man, and he
Wow.
was a phenomenal man. I've met a lot of famous people over the years, and but he stood out. You
Yeah.
know, and what's crazy is I think some of my family members um, on my grandmother's side, if you ever look them up, they were called the Consolers.
Yeah.
They were a huge gospel group. That's part of my family.
Wow. That's wild. So you come from that lineage. So you've had to have good people to look up to in your life.
Yeah.
Who's been your hero? Who's been your inspiration?
I've had several. One of my mentors, his name is Unique Dunn. He's a pastor in Brooklyn. Phenomenal man. I wrote about him in the book. I gave him credits and everything, and I still collaborate with him. Now that he's retired from transit after serving transit for over 20 plus years. And who else? Father Fay from Holy Cross, Holy Rosary Church. He was instrumental. He got me off the streets. He also taught me how to play pool and basketball. He used to whoop my butt, and basketball. And he act like he didn't play and everything, but yeah, just don't bet him for no money because he'll take it. And I had to sweep up, especially when I didn't have any money. So, and he gave me shelter too. So he allowed me to stay there. One day he told me, he said, I don't know if you've been watching the news, but Mandela just got out. And I'm like, okay. And I've been hearing about a lot of Mandela, and I really didn't understand at the time, Nelson Mandela, what everything was going on. So the minute he got out, he came to my school and he walked right past me, and it was crazy. I'm maybe 10 feet away from the stage, and there was no dry eye in the place. So the crowd went bananas, absolutely bananas. Um, he was a person. Once I figured out why everybody gravitated toward him, I was like, wow, I got to learn more and more from him. But I will never forget that.
Wow.
And going over and writing the book, it brought me back. I forgot all about that because you go through stuff, and then when you start what we call a mind map, you start figuring out all the stuff that you've done and been through and everything. And I haven't even scratched the surface. Some of the stuff I had to take out of the book because my wife was like, well, baby, this is a little too dark. So you want to put a positive spin on it. I said, okay, all right. So so I took some things out, but you can pretty much get the gist of it. But yeah, Mandela was uh, Rocky Covington, another gentleman by the name of Bill Britt, Charlie Durso. I mean, I've had so many mentors over the years that poured into me. So now I want to pay it forward. I want to
Yeah.
be able to help no matter who you are or where you are. And I've been able to do that. So
And you've been doing that for a long time. What's been the key to your longevity? I mean, you're not just going to a job, you're giving a lot of yourself, but you
yeah,
also have to hold back to evolve as a human being. What is
yeah.
that collective gumption for you every day to do this work?
Well, it's fulfilling because growing up, there was really no one that said, you know what, I'll mentor you, I'll coach you, I'll teach you and show you the way. And it wasn't until I got around these powerful men and some women that I figured out a lot of us are suffering because we don't have any guidance. And if you see what's going on in the world with the media and the news and politics and all that, and I stay away from politics, so I'm
Yeah,
not going to get into that
yeah,
with you. I stay away from. I protect this 8-pound brain because it's so important,
yeah.
And so many people that suffer from those mental issues, they gravitate to that too, and one of my like I said, one of my mentors, Bill, he used to say that's the idiot box because any idiot can turn it on, and you get caught up in all that stuff. So you know
Wow. Yeah. So what's the best advice you've ever gotten?
the best advice I've ever gotten was don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reversed motivated. I took a job, like I said, 2 years ago when I got here. So I left there about a year ago, doing nonprofit charity sales. And during my interview with my potential boss, she had COVID. So it was great, great interaction, everything. She said, Darren, I really love you. I love your energy and everything. I want you to meet with my partner and he'll make the final determination and everything. I said, okay, no problem. So 3 days later, I met with him. His name is Brandon. So if you ever hear this, he'll know, he'll confirm. And, it was a room full of about 50 people. And he said, he went over all the little details of the business and how the business work and everything, how the pay scale and everything, and how you move up. And I was like, okay. So he said, all right, I'm going to break up into individuals and I'm going to interview you based on last name. So my last name is Williams. So I was next to the last person. And then I went into the office and he said, hey, D, how you doing? Sit down, sit down. So I sat down and I had my suit on, and he said, um, I'm going through your qualifications. You seem overqualified. This seems a little not, in your kind of ballpark. I think this is a little beneath you. I don't think this would be a good fit. Once again, I'm reverse hardwired.
Yeah.
When you tell me something, I can't do it. Now I have to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And I did. So I told him, I said, well, you know what? He said, go home, talk it over with your wife, think about it. I said, no, 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 no. I said, I'll take it. I'll take it. So in the back of my mind, as I was leaving, I got in my car, you're going to regret this. Big time, big time. So got to work. And my second week there, they promoted me to a manager. And then my going to my fourth week, they promoted me to training manager. So I was training the trainers to come in and everything. So after about 3 months, I was killing it because I did 5 different charities: DAV, Disabled American Veterans, Doctors Without Borders, ASPCA, which I love the animals, Heifer International, and the Nature Conservatory, which is the environmental people. And I was killing it. And he comes up to me and he says, and he waited till everybody left. He said, you know what, DC, I've heard the wind blow before, and I met some people that said they're going to do some phenomenal things, but you, brother, I'm you the real deal, And I said, thank you, I appreciate it, because I believe in humility, and I don't like to brag, but I let my actions speak louder than what I say.
Yeah.
And yeah. My boss still called me back. She said, "Oh, D, if you change your mind, come back."
So of all of these things that you've done and become in your life and accomplished, what are you the proudest of?
The proudest that I am is being a father of 2 boys, married to an awesome wife who tolerates me, even though we have a language barrier sometimes and an understanding barrier because she's not from this country. She's from Russia. So she likes to say she traveled across the ocean for me. But being able to write this book, because I've had so many doctors and professors had told me, D, you need to write a book. You need to get your story out because you can actually touch millions of lives. And I'm like, you said that, and it festered in the back of my mind. So after 2 decades wrestling with it, I said, you know what? Enough's enough. Let me do this. So I prayed on it and everything. So here it is. But I'm proud to be, like I said, a person that gives back and that doesn't forget where they came from, you know.
So if the version of you today could walk up to that version of you knocking on the door when you knew you were not going to go back in, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've led, the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you give that young version of you?
That young version of me, I would say, no matter what you go through, keep going. If you're in hell, like bugs on a windshield, you don't stop in the middle of the bugs. You keep going because eventually they're going to get off the windshield. Things will get better. and the book that I read, that too shall come to pass. So yeah, I'd stay grounded to that, and to trust the mentorship early on. And because in the beginning I resisted it because, I, coming from where I came from and living on the streets, you don't trust people, and especially in New York. I don't know if you've ever been in New York, but in New York, there's a big, big trust issue when it comes to, somebody's trying to sell you something, somebody's trying to get you, or, there's a scam, especially here in Florida. Oh my God, it's like the scam capital. So, um, and that's why I was able to do well in sales, because I'm able to connect with those people.
Yeah.
But yeah, to trust the mentorship and trust that these people have your best interests at heart.
So at the end of the day, Darren, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, colleagues, everyone that knows you, all the readers of your book, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm a CWA, Christian with an attitude, because with my belief, I let the average person be able to share what they're able to do. I like to be able to converse with, no matter where you're from or what your nationality, your background. None of that stuff matters to me, because at the end of the day, people are people, and we're all the same. You know, and I've been able to. We have what we call a happy hour every Friday here, and there are a lot of multi millionaires in the building here. um, People don't understand how I'm able to relate to all these different people, because I have abundance of experiences, and some of the folks that I talk to, they get a snippet from me. Sometimes I get something from them, but I always add that to me. So, and I always add that, bring value to them, just like I want to come and bring value to your show, because your
Yeah.
show is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Hey, if anyone wants to pick up the book, if anyone wants to hire you, anyone wants to delve into your world, where can they go?
They can go to I'll send you a link with my Amazon link.
Okay.
Like I said, I just published a book about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and right now all that stuff, between that and speaking engagements and everything, it's been chaotic.
Yeah.
Next week I'll be in 5 countries,
Okay.
so it's a slash trip slash promotionals and stuff too. So, because I got quite a few people in other countries that want to meet me and get the book and everything too. So, it's been chaotic. But yeah, Amazon.com. The name of the book is Overcoming and Beating the Odds, Turning Each of Life Lessons into Blessings.
Wonderful. Darren, thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for putting the light into the world. It's wonderful. It's such a good story of evolution and resilience. So thank you for taking some time out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Travel well, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.